Hi everybody, my name is Laksh Patel and welcome to our podcast, The Meaning of Wisdom. Today we will be diving into Socratic philosophy. If you have not seen the previous videos on the pre-Socratics, it's okay, but I would prefer you to watch it. So let's get started. So, what exactly is Socratic philosophy? Well, Socratic philosophy was a philosophy that evolved around 1000 years after the pre Socratics settled into a proper philosophy. They had various schools, and then our man, the legend Socrates, was born. He was born in a place in Athens, Greece. He was a thinker, kind of like a superhero of big questions. He was like a Riddler, but a more good version of him. He used his brain to ask big important questions about life. He was the founder of what we call Socratic philosophy, which is all about figuring out things, fancy things, or asking questions instead of just believing what people tell you. And it also involves a lot of problem solving by your own, self learning, if you may say. Socrates wasn't a rich or a fancy guy. He walked around barefoot, wore simple clothes, and loved chatting with people. Regular folks like farmers, shopkeepers, and even kids like me. He didn't write books, but his student, a guy named Plato, wrote down what Socrates said. That's how we know about him today. Imagine if your best friend wrote down all your cool ideas. That's what Plato did. He was the best friend of Socrates. And their relationship was more like the relationship of Arjuna and Krishna from Bhagavad Gita. Socrates was the Krishna who gave knowledge to Plato, the Arjuna. So, what's Socratic philosophy again? It's like a game of why and what if. Socrates believes that people often think they know stuff, but when you ask them complex questions, which are not actually complex but they are just diving into the topic, they realize that they know nothing about the topic. For example, if you may say, I know what courage is, Socrates might ask, what does courage mean? Is it brave to fight a bully or is it brave to walk away? He wanted to people to dig deeper and find the truth by thinking hard. One of the famous example of someone who used this idea later is a scientist named, drumrolls please, Albert Einstein. Yes, Albert Einstein invented relativity just because of asking questions like what is time? How does gravity work? He didn't just accept what people told him. He questioned everything, just like Socrates. Another example is Martin Luther King Jr., who asked what is justice and why should people be treated fair. Their questions changed the world because they didn't stop at easy answers. And obviously, they used the Socratic method. Yay, some credit to Socrates. Socrates got in trouble for all his questioning, though. Some powerful people in Athens didn't like that he made them look silly when they couldn't stop answer his questions. They accused him of being a troublemaker and told him he had to stop. Socrates said, nope, I'd rather die than stop thinking. And well, let's say the powerful people took it literally, and he literally died in 399 BC. That they made him drink a poison called hemlock, and well, dead. But his ideas didn't die. They kept growing because of people like Plato, and others kept them alive. The big question of Socratic philosophy is this: why to believe something because someone says it's true. Ask questions. It's like being a detective on in your own brain, but a more simple, oblivious detective. Okay, now let's get on to how the history of Socratic philosophy and how it grew. Okay, so let's take the time machine I borrowed from Spock and travel back to ancient Greece and see how Socratic philosophy started and grew. Picture Athens. It's a busy city with stone buildings, markets, and people arguing about big ideas. Big ideas associated with politics and more. Socrates was born around 470 BC, and back then people loved about debating life, gods, and universal rules. But Socrates lived differently. He didn't argue to win, he asked questions to learn. And that, my folks, explains the difference between an educated man and a learned man. A learned man, a educated man, means that he is well educated. Let's say, for example, he has a doctorate of philosophy in MBBS, and he can't apply it on real life. Then he is just a well educated man. He is not a learned man. A learned man is a person who might not be educated but still can do the job better than the educated man because he has learned, he loves his job, and most of all, he is focused towards his line of work, his or her line of work. Okay, we are on Socratic philosophy. Socrates didn't invent philosophy, but he made it special by creating our very own special method, which I love honestly, called the Socratic method. It's like a question and answer game. Actually, it is a question and answer game. It asks someone, what is goodness? That's the thing about it. He asks questions so clearly that the person who is in front of him, who is debating with him, gets confused. Okay, so he asks someone, what is goodness? They say, being nice. Then he would ask, is being nice always good? What if you're nice to a bad guy? He keeps on going until people really thought about their answers. It's like peeling an onion, layer after layer after layer after layer, until you get the core. After Socrates died, his student Plato took over. Plato wrote books called dialogues, where Socrates is the star asking questions. And Plato even started a school called the Academy. Think of it like Hogwarts for thinkers. I'm addressing to Harry Potter fans here. If you are not an Harry Potter fan or you have never heard of Harry Potter, I'll just tell you Hogwarts is the magical school of Harry Potter. Yeah, so it's like a school, magical school for thinkers. Then Plato's student Aristotle came along. Aristotle loves Socrates' ideas but added his own twist like studying nature and science and blah 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 blah. We'll talk about them more later. Over time, Socrates' philosophy spread. Hundreds of years later, during a time called the Renaissance, you must have heard Renaissance fairs. Around 14,000s, people in Europe rediscovered these old Greek ideas. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci used Socratic phil- uh, philosophy to invent things. He would ask, how can I make a flying machine? And then he would figure out step by step by step. Even today's teachers and lawyers use the Socratic method. In your school, your teacher might ask, why do you think the sky is blue? To make you think, not just memorize. And lawyers ask, just use the Socratic method so that they can confuse their opponents, opposing people. Sorry, opposing. Yes, one modern example is Steve Jobs, the guy who helped make iPhones. He asked big questions like how can a phone be simple but cool? He didn't settle for boring answers, he kept digging Socratic style. But it wasn't always easy for Socratic ideas. Sometimes people change, like kings or bosses, didn't like questions, but because they made them uncomfortable as well as they made them look dumb. One example of this is a beauty contest. Okay, so it's 400. The there is a beauty contest in 200 and 207 BC, and Socrates participated in that beauty contest. Now, if you look at the photo of Socrates, we can certainly get that that guy was not a looker. He His eyes were bulging out of his skull like a toad. But how did he win the contest? Well, he got into a debate with the opposer who was much more beautiful than him, and he asked, "What is beauty?" He said, "Beauty is being good in something, being exceptional in something. That's beauty," his opposer said. Then he asked, "Okay, that's called beauty. Now, what is the most beautiful part of the whole body?" So, the opposer said, "Obviously, the face, but to be more specific, the eyes." And then comes the turn. Socrates answered, "Okay, then my eyes are bulging out and performing their task much better than you. Then I can simply say that my eyes are more beautiful than your eyes, and therefore your face, and therefore you. So basically, I'm more beautiful than you." And well, it turned out that his opposer was the mayor's son, and obviously, the mayor got offended by that statement. He waited till a bit more, you know, asking questions, and then he took action by, as I mentioned earlier, making him drink the hemlock poison. Socrates said, "I know that I know nothing." A confusing statement, which actually means that I'm aware of the fact that I know nothing. Which means the more you ask, the more you grow. Did you try? Here's your first question I'll be asking you to discuss about today. What's the most fun thing I did today? And why was it fun? Keep asking, you see how you cool can you be. And as always, I would prefer you I am making these podcasts so that you can learn about them, and you can go ahead with the journey. You can make yourself better applying one or many types of philosophies I explained to you. Okay? So bye bye guys. I love you.